If you've been following the vlogs, you've seen that I have been looking for a way to get better low light performance out of the GoPro. I'm ready to give up on it, and so instead I'm going to be shooting with the iPhone, but I thought if I'm going to be shooting more with the iPhone in low light situations, I need to step things up a little bit. So today I'm going to try the Ollo Clip. We'll see how it goes. So the Ollo Clip is something that, one of those clip-on lenses, and I bought this refurbished on Amazon. And you know, of all the things that you can get used or refurbished, it seems like lenses are probably a pretty bad idea because you never know what the other person did to them. You never know if that person tried to like clean them or wash them with harsh abrasives or chemicals or things like that. But I've had pretty good luck with it. The lens that you're looking at me now in, that is a lens that I got refurbished on Amazon as well. So at least in one experience, I've had good luck. So I saw these, I saw a couple of other videos online that I thought were pretty helpful in terms of showing what these things can do. And normally I wouldn't care or want to bother with putting external lenses on the phone. It's just a phone camera. Not too concerned about it. But because I was having issues getting good low light performance out of the GoPro, and I got decent low light performance out of the iPhone, I thought maybe that would become my primary shooter for my before dawn runs or all those other times in the wintertime when it's just super dark. But if I wanted to do that, I needed the iPhone lens to be a little bit wider, because if I, for example, try to take a shot of myself running or a shot of my feet, it's just too close, right? And so I thought I would try something different. Now the way that the Ollo Clip works is there are a couple of things in this box. So it comes with this, and let's get it off here. This is the part that clips onto your phone, and this is the part that it sits in. And what's nice about this is that this then opens up and turn into a little bit of a stand for your iPhone. So you can do this, put your iPhone in it, and now it has a way of standing, which is nice because normally I have like a C-clamp that I put stuff in, and then I take my iPhone shots, the ones that I have been taking. But this is nice because then it's all in one package, and this is pretty thin as well. So this will work for me, I think, because then I can flip it around and then elevate the lens a little bit too. Now the way that this thing is designed is it kind of has two slots so it can fit. And the first thing I gotta do is take it out of my regular iPhone case, which makes me a little bit nervous. But it slips on to your iPhone like this. And now there's a spot for your front-facing lens, and look how dirty the back of my phone is, and a spot for your rear-facing lens. And it comes with two lenses. You can buy it with just one, but I got the thing with two lenses in it. All right, so then they slide in. And then I've got a lens. This is a telephoto lens, which I think will be useful for that one shot that I really like to get. The one where I'm by the lamppost and the tree and I'm running and it's pitch black. This one will get me a little bit closer, so I think that shot will turn out nicer. So there's a telephoto lens. It's basically a 2x zoom, which I don't have on my regular iPhone 7. And then there's another lens that I have that is a wide angle lens. So not quite as wide as a GoPro, I think, but wider than the regular lens of the iPhone. And so that will give me kind of like my selfie shot. I probably won't use this on the selfie cam. That's the way that this is designed. So that way, if you're doing like a live stream, you can show people what's on the other side, and then people can look at you, and it's not so close because you're not looking. Anyway, that's what it's for. I probably only use it one lens at a time. Maybe on some runs, I'll bring both lenses with me, but I can, most of the time, I think that how I'll run with it is, except for like those nighttime runs when I want to get that very specific shot, I think for the most part I'll run with it like this with the wide angle lens on the rear facing camera, because that's the one that could shoot 1080 at 120 frames per second. And so that way I get kind of like a GoPro type of image from an iPhone, and it's better low light performance. How much that this additional lens is going to affect the low light performance, we'll see. How this whole setup is going to work with me trying to run with gloves in the dark without a case to protect the rest of the phone, because I have dropped my phone on a lot of occasions, is going to be interesting. I think they make a separate case that will still allow this part to fit, and then you can still have some protection. I'm probably going to end up picking that up, but we'll see how this goes. I'm going to take this for a run. It's dark, and we'll see how it goes. 6.3 miles, 8 minutes, 8 seconds per mile, running with the iPhone 7 using an Ollo Clip, the wide angle lens, for the most part, for most of the day. Even threw some vlog footage in there for you, just so you guys got an idea of the different ways you can use it and the different cameras that are on the iPhone. I've only spent a day with it, but I have a pretty good idea of whether or not I'm ultimately gonna like it. And I think that I probably will use this for a lot of my winter runs. I don't know that I'll be using the GoPro for a lot of the early morning stuff. Some of my weekend runs, my run commutes, anything where I'll have daylight, I definitely will still be using the GoPro because I like that more. But for these early morning runs when the sun still isn't up by the time I'm done with the run, I think this is what I'm gonna use just because the low light performance is there for me. The first thing though I'll talk about is using this thing. It's a little bit awkward to get the lenses in and out, because remember, it's like basically like a shell which you could put lenses in, so it's kind of like an interchangeable lens system. You squeeze the little button and then like the little interlocking mechanisms, one of them comes in and then you can take it out, kind of like a roll of toilet paper. So you squeeze it in and you pull it out. If I'm only carrying the one lens around with me, and when I was doing the vlog style footage, I was only using the one lens and flipping it around between the rear camera and the front. That's not too bad, although the way that this is, the way you have to squeeze it, it lends itself to you accidentally rubbing your finger across the face of the lens, so not great, but I'm not really sure how you can avoid that. The thing that is more of a problem though is the way that this system all kind of works. It all hinges along the the linchpin, not linchpin, because there's actually a linchpin, but the foundation to the system is the nub of the camera. And so the lens has a little bit of an inset, and so when it is above the camera, it kind of slides itself in and it secures itself that way. If I don't have something on the back lens and I only wanted to use the front lens, I found that this can slide around quite a bit, even when you have a lens mounted on the front, because there's nothing on the front for it to kind of hook onto. And so sometimes I got a little bit more vignetting that I wanted to. Sometimes I had to adjust it and play with it to make sure I wasn't covering the lens somehow. Ultimately, I don't care too much about vignetting. I like fisheye. I like vignetting. I don't like it when it's super, super intense, like some of those super cheap lenses you can find on Amazon. But I don't mind a little bit of it because ultimately, I love skate videos and ski videos, and I'm just a guy that wishes he could make those, but I don't know how to skate and I really can't ski. So I don't mind the vignetting a little bit. It makes everything look very dramatic. And the main reason why I would flip between the rear camera and the front camera is because of the different camera capabilities. And so I did that, a lot of that on purpose. The rear camera on the iPhone can, at least my iPhone 7, and I have only one camera on this phone, you can set it to shoot 1080 resolution at 120 frames per second. That's important to me because I like to slow everything down in slow motion. 120 frames per second means I can get a quarter speed slow-mo, so these can move 1/4 as fast as they do in real time. That's how most of my running footage is shown to you guys. So it's shot at 1080p, 120 frames per second, slow it down to slow motion, 25% of real-time speed, and that's mostly what you guys are seeing. The front-facing camera on the iPhone 7 can only shoot 1080 at 30 frames per second. I can't use that for slow motion, so if I'm just using it for vlogging, which I don't really use this for vlogging, but if I were, that's the camera that I could use because I don't really need slow motion for that. The downsides to using this iPhone as kind of an action camera with the Ollo Clip Lenses is, number one, I have to do it without a case, which action cameras and without case or without protection seems like a little bit odd to me, and I definitely want to see if there's some way that I can still protect this and use the lenses. So that's a problem. The other problem is, I guess there's two more problems. So there's a total of three. One is that you have to use it without a case. Two, the problem is that the iPhone rear camera has a hard time focusing when you're trying to like use the rear camera on yourself. And this is something that I learned painfully as I was trying to use this as like a vlogging camera. Right when I first got the iPhone 7. This is my second iPhone 7 that I got. The first one I lost. So I've had the iPhone 7, two of them, over a long period of time. But as I was trying to use this as a vlogging camera, I thought this would be better because the rear camera also has electronic image stabilization and it could shoot at a higher frame rate. So if I do happen to be walking around and vlogging myself and something cool happens in the background, or I'm like, hey, look at that, and I turn the camera, I could slow it down in slow motion. So I wanted to give myself that flexibility. But whenever you hold it this way, I don't know if it's the focal length or what, but the iPhone camera just has a hard time focusing on me, even with the wide angle lens on there. And so a lot of the footage comes out a little bit gummy. Not a huge deal because the light is so low anyway. It's hard to really tell that the focus isn't crisp, but it's something that's bothersome. And then the third thing that really bothers me about trying to use the rear camera on the iPhone as an action cam is that the electronic image stabilization that I mentioned just a minute ago is really aggressive on the iPhone. And so a lot of times you could see it like as I'm bouncing from taking a step or even just walking around. If I slow that footage down, you could see how much the iPhone is manipulating the image. And so you could see it kind of like warp. So it's kind of like a weird trippy effect. And so that's something that becomes really noticeable. I don't know if there's a way to turn off the electronic image stabilization on an iPhone. And even then, I'm not sure if my options are over aggressive electronic image stabilization and no electronic image stabilization. I think I might still pick the over aggressive kind because having nothing is really, really tough. The thing that I really enjoyed using surprisingly the most was using this telephoto lens. So the 2X of this lens, the performance of that I thought was really good. That favorite dark spot of mine by the lamppost and the tree, that shot turned out, that's probably the best shot of that I've ever gotten, and I'm really happy with it. I'll just put it up for comparison now. The shot that I got by the tree with the telephoto lens, I'll put that on the bottom, and on top I'll put the shot I got yesterday because I took the same shot yesterday from the same spot, same camera, iPhone. The mount that I put it in was a little bit different, so the angle might be slightly different, like the pitch, or yeah, pitch. This is yaw pitch, I think. So that might be a little bit different, but it gives you an idea of just how much it's zooming in and the difference in performance and graininess. And then there was another clip that I took where I ran there's a lot of garbage cans along the lakefront trail, and a lot of times I'll set them on top of that and then run by it so I don't have everything at foot level. It's more at like chest level. And so I ran by that. I did it once with the wide angle and then once with the telephoto, and I really like the telephoto there too. So I might use the telephoto a lot more for my set shots, at least my running by the camera shots. I think I'm gonna end up carrying both of the lenses with me as I'm doing the run, and use the telephoto lens for anything where I'm running by the camera, or if I want a shot from further away and get like a profile shot. But for anything where I'm running selfie, or I'm trying to get a shot of me running with the background, or if I need to get my feet or my stride, then I'll use the wide angle lens. And I think that's gonna be like the way that I'll use this kind of system. So it comes in a couple of different configurations. You can get like wide angle, and then like there's even wider angle with definitely you'll get vignetting, and that's when the fisheye gets a little bit intense. But I think this pack that I got that has the telephoto and the wide angle really works for me. It helps extend the life of my iPhone 7, which, you know, I like getting new phones and all that, but if I can avoid it for a little bit longer, that's something that I'd like to try and do. And so I'm pretty happy with it. The reason why, though, it won't completely replace my GoPro is that this doesn't have any buttons. And as it gets colder, I'm gonna be running in thicker and thicker and thicker mittens. And so there's no like button I can press to make it start recording and button I can press to make it stop. So every time I do want to take a shot, I'll have to take a glove off, open the camera, or at least, you know how to take a video with an iPhone. I'll have to do all that, but that all requires fingerprints and touches on a touch screen, which is not going to really work when I'm wearing deerskin mittens with hand warmers inside. So it'll be useful. It might not be an everyday thing, but then again, in the winter, when it's super, super cold out, when we've got like below freezing temps, I usually try to run commute home because it's later in the day. It's the warmest part of the day, and there's also a little bit of light. but it does give me some more flexibility back for the mornings. So if I do want to do a morning run and it's going to be super, super dark, I do have a way of at least capturing it still. So I think it's going to be useful. For the price, I think it was pretty good. I got a refurbished unit. I think there's some more out there. I'll post a link to that in the description in case you want to check it out for yourself. If you are an iPhone user and you're on the fence about should I get a GoPro or can I just do everything with the iPhone, this might be a happy medium for you if you're not willing to take that plunge and want to start kind of experimenting or playing around. So hopefully you found this useful. If you have any questions about the product, the Ollo Clip, not sponsored by the way, it's just something that I have been looking at and have been curious about. Bought this with my own money. They have no idea that I'm making this video. But if you have any questions about it, to the extent that I can answer them, I'd love to talk to you guys in the comments. Before I go for today, I want to talk about today's charity runner. In 2019, Lindsay Nicole is going to be running for Girls on the Run. And Girls on the Run is an after-school program whose mission is to make sure that girls can be joyful, healthy, and confident. And they do that by training them for a non-competitive 5K run. And through that, they're going to be doing some running. They're going to be training, getting ready for their race day, and also providing life lessons and some mentorship. I just think it's great. I remember personally when I started running cross country in high school, and I had run track in like junior high. I think I was running the mile and a half mile then. But like in high school, as I started running cross country, the distances just seemed insurmountable and insane. And it was my cross country coach who trained us to get to that 5K race level that really made me realize that like I could be tired, super tired in my mind, but still have more to go. And that was an incredible feeling. That was incredibly empowering. And so to the fact that she's going to be running for organizations that's trying to instill that feeling, that sense of empowerment into young girls, I think is absolutely amazing. So I've donated $5 to her cause, and I'll put links in the description of this video in case you want to check out what she's doing and also join me in supporting what she's doing. So thank you, Lindsay, for doing that. I think that's pretty awesome. That's all I have for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.